What's up everybody? So welcome to part 3 of the build. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jerry and I want to thank you for tuning in. So, kicking off where we left off on the last video where I was trying to use the motorcycle leftover parts that I had that were scrap metal from my other motorcycle builds that just didn't work out. I ended up having to buy some tubing and I built the whole frame and everything. If you haven't seen that video, check out the playlist or the link in the description. So now I've gone ahead and actually painted the frame, which I'll show you guys in a minute. And I can start assembling the drivetrain and the engine and the chain and all that stuff. On the flip side, I found some 10-inch PVC piping, which was incredibly hard to source. And I could have bought some drift ones or Trike drift sleeves online, but they're pretty expensive. Some places didn't even ship to Canada, or it was like $100 and the sleeve itself was only $12. So anyways, this was the most economical way. And I'll show you it right here. So this is the PVC piping that I found. It's 10-inch inner diameter. This is about a 2-foot piece. I found a place actually 10 minutes from my house that does a bunch of industrial and commercial water stuff. And he said that I was the second guy in the last week to come by looking for this. But basically this is pretty thick and it's quite heavy. So as you can see, it's really thick stuff. This is 10 inches. And I should be able to just cut this to length with a Sawzall. So they originally gave me this for free and it was just an off-cut scrap piece. But apparently it's quite expensive. But the guy in the yard was actually super helpful and he had to like dig through the jungle of garbage and stuff like that to grab me this. So I gave him 20 bucks. So I guess you can say it would cost me $20 for that. Should be able to get at least 3 or 4 sets of tires out of this, or sleeves if you want to call them. Moving on to the frame. So this is the color I decided to go with, like a lime green, or they call it key lime. The frame is done well. I still have to paint the forks here and the handlebars and that little tidbit there, all black, and polish it up. But I'll focus on that after. So let's get started. I'm just gonna go ahead and start mounting the engine and all that stuff. I also do want to note that I cut this out for the drain plug for the oil so that when I do an oil change, I don't have to take apart the whole thing and I can just let the oil drip out of there. All right, so let's get ahead and start installing stuff. So I have a bit of a problem. I tried to hook up the throttle cable and the Phillips head on here completely ripped off. And what's funny is I actually lost that and then I replaced it with a better grade one here. And then I found it and I put the stock one back on and the head snapped off of it. So now I'm kind of screwed and I don't have this adjusted properly so that it's not recoiling enough when it lets go because there's too much slack here. So I don't know how I'm going to get this out right now. But the good news is the chain's on. So I'm going to try to figure this out real quick and I'll come back. Right, so I fixed it. I'll show you what I did just in case you guys run into the same issue with the Predator versions of this engine. In Canada, this is a Princess Auto version, but it's basically the same Predator engine, 6.5 horsepower. So I had a little bit of slack for the cable hold down here, so I moved it back instead of having it way out here, and that shortened that distance. I added a spring here just to give it a little bit more bounce back when it would pull. I adjusted the cable length with this thing and then as well as this one, and now it goes back and it recoils on its own. So thankfully I didn't have to drill out this piece. I'm gonna just add some oil. The manual recommends 10W30 for where I live, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add some. It takes about half a quart, so I think that's about half a liter, but I will check the dipstick after the fact. So unfortunately it's raining, so I'm not going to ride it, but I just want to get the engine broken in and started. Show you guys real quick the pegs that I built. So they're basically just steel that I welded to there, and then I welded a flat piece of there. I do have a cut-off saw, or like a chop saw for metal, so it was actually really easy to cut these angles. If you don't have one, you can use an angle grinder, but it's a little bit more tricky. Those tabs, they're actually where I had the foot pedal hooked up. I even had a brake pedal, so I had a handbrake set up for the rear disc, but it just wasn't working. So like I said, I eliminated those completely. Everything is hooked up now, the throttle's on. I added the foot pegs and I repainted that. I put some oil in the engine, some gas, and I actually did start it to let it break in for 20 minutes like the instructions say before you go ahead and start ripping it. I also cut the sleeves for the tires, and those are on. I've also put the keys in the sprocket and the hubs for the wheels as well. But there's been a slight change of plans. I actually eliminated the rear disc brake completely. I was messing with the setup and trying to get it to work for hours, and I couldn't get it to work. It just wasn't working well enough. And I think the only way to make it work is like a go-kart pedal type system, which I did have hooked up, but I was using a cable and I don't think it was strong enough to really pull it. And the way, because the frame's designed and whatever, it just didn't make sense to run some steel rods like you'd normally find a go-kart brake pedal. So I basically just eliminated it, and I did a little bit of research as well. Most people don't even have rear brakes on their trikes. So for now, I'm going to use the stock front brake that came on this front end of the bike. It's probably the worst kind of brakes you can get. But in the interim, until I can find a new front end with a disc brake off an old mountain bike or something, I'll leave it be. And to be honest, I plan on riding this just in parking lots. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. There's some other trike builds out there that don't even have any brakes, probably because you're just skidding around and just use your feet or whatever. So I don't anticipate this thing going really, really fast where I need brakes, especially in an open parking lot. So for now, I'm just gonna forgo it. I'll return the caliper and brake disc that I got from Princess Auto for this. So that should save me about another 130 bucks or so. because that was probably the most expensive part outside of the engine and the clutch itself, were the rear disc setup that I had going on. That's not going to work for this, so keeping it on a budget. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Please smash the like button and subscribe and hit the little notification bell. And please let me know in the comments if you like these kind of builds, so I can do more and deviate a little bit away from just motorcycles. I know that's what I started the channel with, but I just realistically, I can't keep building motorcycles all the time. So having a little bit of variety is kind of fun too. And these things don't take that much time to build. And it's like kind of nostalgic a little bit, since I used to build a lot of go-karts and stuff in shop class in high school, elementary school. So it's kind of fun to do this stuff. I like these holsters that I'm wearing. It's a phone and wallet holster. It's from my company called LD West. I started this about 4 years ago, but if you do want to grab one for yourself, take advantage of the promo code I have linked in the description. It's for 20 bucks off, which is something we don't ever offer to anybody, but I'm offering it to you guys just because I can, and I want to say thank you for everybody who has subscribed and who watches my videos all the time. With that said, on the next video, we're going to take this thing for a test ride, and hopefully it works and everything goes well. I'm a little skeptical with this solid axle, but because it doesn't really turn right now as is when you're going slow. So I'm hoping the drifting will work and the engine's strong enough to turn both axles and drift it. I think it will because it's sliding. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys next time.